Shall we start?
Okay. Uh, Thank you once again, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Boustead Digital and Innovation session. Today, we really have an exciting lineup of speakers and presenters talking about various things, including cloud solutions, AI, how do we make it more. So first off, just a brief run through of what you can expect from today. We will have our very own director of GTO, Khalil. He'll be talking about introducing GTO, what we do, what kind of support you can actually get from GTO, and what kind of resources we have to offer. Followed by a presentation by Cloudmile William, who is the delivery and service lead of Southeast Asia. He will be talking about the cloud solutions and security, followed by Denis Brenton, the CEO and co-founder of Novate, talking about the power of AI, the road to predicting field accidents with with more than 80% accuracy. And finally, we have our speaker from Esquire, Carl, the CEO and co-founder, to talk about Gaussian splatting and AI implementation. And then we'll go for a short bio break before we all come back for our fireside chat moderated by Khalil and joined by our three speakers. We'll be diving into the topic of digital transformation in practice. You know, how when we talk about digital transformation, people just think it's all about the technology, the software, the hardware, but there is a very critical factor, the human element. So how can we encourage people to be on board with digital transformation and how it can actually bring proper value to them? Followed by that, we'll close the event, but for those who are in the EBC office, we actually do have a tryout of our gadgets in the integrity room. So please feel free to stream in after the event. We have 360 cameras. We have the AR, VR goggles for you to try it out. So you almost feel like you're in a video game, but this is actually for work. But it can actually show you what kind of value such technology could possibly bring to your work. So without further ado, I'll hand the time over to Khalil.
Hi, very good morning to
everyone.
Thanks for joining. First thing first, I would like to say a big thanks to Carl from Esquire, Denis from Novate, and also William from Cloudmile. So I'll just do a quick introduction, basically about GTO, the Group Technology Office. I think the intent of this whole session is really to, share with you guys how technology can help us in the day-to-day process. And at the same time, again, as what Liz mentioned just now, what kind of resources and partners we have in the industry to help us achieve some of our productivity and also cost-effective process as part of our delivery. So without further ado, maybe I'll just deep dive into who GTO is about. So if those within Boustead, I think most of you guys know us. It consists of three team here. Today we talk about digital delivery, much about how we deliver a project in a digital manner. So various digital platforms are then immersed or being used throughout the whole project timeline, right? Design, construction, all the way to the asset and facilities management. And also we have the IT folks together supporting us, obviously, in terms of the hardware and all the, I would say, infrastructure, IT infrastructure that we have in our organization today, and of course, innovation. So why innovation is key and critical? Because, about digitalization and technology is also about change management. So that's where innovation will come into play, right? And then these are our focus and drivers. If you see here, the three holy trinity, technology, people, and process, right? So, and that's where our focus and drivers are at. We are talking about environmental, energy efficiency, whole life carbon. Of course, we focus a lot on productivity, health and well-being, business, our business intelligence. That's where the use of data comes into play, where we have various dashboard and unified dashboard that we are trying to achieve by using it for reporting and of course resilient, and in terms of operation, maintaining operability and maintainability. Right. So you guys might be thinking what we have been up to for the past year. So today, I know some of you may have been or have already used some of this technology and also involved deeply in some of these implementations, such as the unified data platform, where we integrate various data lakes into a unified data dashboard, and then LiDAR scanning, no more. I would say not only it becomes ad hoc process, but it's part of our DNA, where we use this to validate some of our on-site construction progress. And then we have our smart building system, and then we have our Esquire 360 together with Novate, where we digitize some of our construction process. And then, of course, we are exploring robotics for any upcoming new project. We'll start using robotics for spray painting, for example, and using robots to scan and capture data through some of these implementation and initiative. Of course, you guys may heard a lot about common data environment. So Autodesk Construction Cloud today is one of our common data environment that we use to communicate, collaborate, and coordinate effectively throughout the whole project timeline. Right, we focus a lot on continuous upskilling. The team here today, I always talk about unlearning, relearning, and learning new skills. So again, change management does not come overnight. So upskilling is very important. So this is where we want to share the new skills that is needed for us to go into this whole digital transformation journey with everyone here and each of us in our organization. I'll stop here. I'll share. I will allow William from CloudMile to share on their products and also the implementation that they have before we hand over to the rest of the speakers today. Thanks, William. Over to you.
Hi, thanks, Kalia. And also thanks, Elise, for inviting me to participate on the event. I'm really honored to be given the opportunity to speak here. And also, hi there for everyone out there. So my name is William. I'm actually the DDB and service lead at CloudMile. So today I actually have been with CloudMile for 4 years, and my role is actually to oversee Southeast Asia project delivery pipelines, resourcing, and also ensure service quality of our engineering team. So today I'm really excited to talk about relevant topic in today's fast-paced environment, which is actually a cloud solution and security. So actually, as we actually navigate through this era of a rapid innovation, I think, sorry, I will get it. Enable a slideshow mode. Yeah. Okay. So I think, yeah. So I think the shift is ready to cloud technology. It's not just about trend, but also a necessity for organization to looking for to stay competitive. So I will be actually sharing some insights about dealing with security challenges that come with digital transformation with cloud solutions. So just a quick introduction about CloudMile today. So we actually is a forefront at transforming business through innovation, innovative cloud technology solutions. So over here we have over 200 cloud certified engineers across regions, including Taiwan as our first HQ, Hong Kong, Southeast Asia region, including with Singapore being the second HQ. So we are dedicated to empowering organization on their digital transformation journey. So our expertise actually spans across multi-cloud platforms, so ensuring tailored solution that really fits the business needs. So at CloudMile here, actually, we aim to accelerate your digital transformation through our tailored multi-cloud services. So we actually offer comprehensive cloud migration and application modernization to ensure smooth transition with minimal downtime. So our AI ML consultation also embed intelligence in the workflow, optimize your performance across various industries. So we also offer service like enhancing your data capability with advanced analytics, architecture designs, consultation, and expertise to actually safeguard your operations, and also offer cloud training as well. So we also offer like things like exceptional building and technical support to really manage and optimize your IT infrastructure efficiently. So we can actually offload your team while we can actually focus on higher value tasks. So just to give a quick glance, like how we typically like facilitate a comprehensive cloud transformation, like leading firm like iFast, which is a global digital banking and wealth management platform. So they used to actually face challenge like adopting like microservices architectures and ensuring high level of security and compliances across hybrid multi-cloud while scaling their business. So in addressing these challenges, so our approach is actually include setting up a robust cloud landing zone using some IAC, also known as infrastructure as code techniques, that actually automates and scales deployment efficiently. So we also use a cutting edge Google Cloud technology, Google Cloud with Google Kubernetes engine and NTOS for enterprise level orchestrations. So allowing the seamless management across the hybrid environment. So our solution also enhance security with tools like using cloud native security command centers. And also we also carve out some strategy to implement some strategic logging just to stop their compliance issues. So overall, I think we focus on, in this project, focus on automations, data modernization, and security, just to ensure that iFast actually transformation is not just about compliance, but also prime for future scalability and enhance operational efficiency. So probably, I think, like what Kuala mentioned, I think this is something that most of you guys may be familiar. I think just for benefit for those who are not aware about this unified data platform that we have built for Boustead. So I think they face some significant challenge like due to different data formats from various sources, make it very difficult to have a unified overview. So our solution is really centralized data management into this unified data platform by leveraging on GCP capabilities. So we leverage on cloud storage for streamline the data ingestions. We use Cloud Composer to orchestrate the diverse data flow, and then finally use the BQ, which is BigQuery for efficient data transformation. So this setup really allows us to automate the whole entire integration and analysis processes, and then transform this disparate data into cohesive format, and then import into the Looker to provide advanced visualization offering both Boustead for daily insights and ability to actually monitor these projects and issues effectively here, and also enhance their decision-making capability through this dynamic and visual reporting. Yeah. So many times I think when we engage with a customer, we talk about data solutioning. So this will be the data reference architecture. So first we need to talk just a quick go through over it is first we need to really understand about where is the data source. So and then we will consider how to ingest and then transform the data all the way from the cloud back to the data warehouse. So this entire transformation process really helps to achieve several business outcomes, such as like monetizing data, enhancing operations with BI tools, or even integrating AI at the end just for smarter automations, and effectively use the data to drive the business transformation. Yeah. So after navigating through this data solution and transformation, I think you might be wonder maybe what's next. So how do we really leverage on this refined accessible data to its fullest potential? So maybe we could look at in the 90s, I think the introduction about internet make the world smaller, I think providing unprecedented access to information and global market, and then spawning to online businesses. Okay, then after that, then arrive with the mobile technology that took this step further ahead. So putting information literally on our palm, so accessible anytime and anywhere. So I think with the era of big data extend all these capabilities, utilizing the vast amount of data to better understand customers' needs and also personalize their experience. So aiming to increase their engagement and also expanding on the e-commerce platforms. So today we already enter the era of generative AI. So I think it's a very common topic today we have heard consistently over the past year. And I think AI is not just a trend, but also represent a significant shift in how the organization operates. So according to the McKinsey's report on the generative AI impact on productivity, Gen AI is actually transforming the key business area with about 75% of applications focused on customer service, marketing, sales, software engineer, and even R&D. So I think you can see that from these the numbers, these productivity gains are really impressive. So this really highlights actually how Gen AI is really enhancing operational efficiencies and really driving innovation across organizations. So as much as I think Gen AI technology really sounds great, I think it offers a lot of amazing potentials. So, but it's also important not to underestimate the importance of the proper data security governance. So look at these some of the typical concerns, security concern over here. So I think the organization actually often will hesitate to adopt AI, maybe due to concern talk about data leakage, misuse, loss of data over sensitive information. And I think this risk actually will really lead to compromising data privacy and regulatory compliance. So I think the effective data security measures are very important to maintain the trust and the confidence on AI applications, and then safeguard against those potential threats that really undermine the benefit of these advanced technologies. So just for the benefit, these are also some of the insights from the recent, I think it's September, if I'm not wrong. I think the recent Gartner report on the global security investment trends. So by 2025, actually Gartner forecast that there's a 15% growth in security spending. So this really increase really reflects a heightened awareness of security threats, particularly as AI technology has become widely adopted. So as shown in the graph over here, I think the investment in the security software, services, and network security are all on the rise. So such growth really underscore the shift from viewing AI security as optional to recognizing it as essential for organization to safeguard their data and infrastructure effectively here. So does it mean that really does avoiding AI altogether means really you actually say that your environment is security risk free? So what should we really consider about integrating AI into our system? So maybe I'm going to share some facts regarding about the data risk in AI together. So just to simplify the workflow over here. So I think commonly everybody is very familiar with GPT. So we use GPT as an example. And this is actually considered as a front end interface, and which connects to the back end general AI LLM, large language model here. Okay. So I think typically we have users access this platform, input prompts, and then receive response securely. So this process actually repeats across different users or tenants, or typically without risk of information leakage typically, because I think this interaction will be actually isolated, and the data is actually also will not be permanently stored. Okay. So however, these systems also do store inputs temporarily just to train and improve their AI model. So by right, this storage should be secure and deploying, and also they'll be deploying data validation mechanism just to make sure that all these data sensitive information are properly managed and not ingested. Yeah. So despite this precaution, I think risks still do exist. So example, there's a hacker actually discover vulnerabilities such as unsecured IP. They do a port scanning or IP scan. They discover there's an unsecured IP address and ports. So they can get access through the shell commands and with some brute force, and then they get access to the system and export the user data. So in this instance, actually, this scenario highlights a traditional cloud security risk. So this emphasizes the need of the system-level security measures to protect against this kind of threats. So let me emphasize once again, this is not an AI risk. This is actually a very traditional cloud security risk here. So secondly, sorry. Yeah. So secondly, there actually exists also another potential risk that actually application designs could intentionally or unintentionally actually expose to feed the user supply data to the general AI large language model. So typically, well, this is actually technically possible, but it's highly unlikely also, because this is so risky and probably this is an obvious problem associated with such kind of approach. Like it's as good as we are actually storing the user data and exposed directly to other tenants through related queries or prompt if people start to try to write some things unintentionally. So I think this scenario actually represents a significant cloud security risk, but also stemming more towards from a software design flaw more than the AI technology itself. So the good news is actually these all risks are actually largely preventable through mature security practices and strong controls. So establish this kind of security protocols really and the framework with implementing typical multi-tenant protections, ensure that the data is actually compartmentalized and protected. So significantly actually reduce also the likelihood of cross-tenant data exposures and data guarding, safeguarding the user data within the AI applications. So the next question will be, how can we be so sure that the companies claiming their systems are secure are really adopting all these kind of high security standards? So this is really essential that, I mean, so just for knowledge, I think essential to check whether this organization actually comply with the recognized security certifications such as SOC 2 or STAR certifications. So these certifications are really important because they are not just demonstrate a company's dedication to security practices and also provide public validations of their security claims. So time to time, you may need to take a look at their terms and services. For example, maybe provider may state that the things like, for example, their bots are fully contained and no sharing of data within the bots, or even within the same account, or even by default, each chatbot is actually private, so that ensure that only the authorized users can actually interact with it. So all this actually will prevent the direct access for potential attacks. So unless actually the user decide to make their bots interaction public on their website. Yeah. So lastly, so just want to address another one kind of security, which is the model level risk. So okay, so this addressing this model level risk actually is important, especially when dealing with open source models. Generally, most organizations actually lack of the resource to build our own generative AI model from scratch. So I think that's fine. So many will still opt for deploying tenant-specific options like Microsoft Copilots, where they demo show that they ensure they only process only your data to answer your questions without accessing other data. So of course, there will still other people choose to go for self-hosted party open source models. But when utilizing this all third-party model, just one thing that it's important to understand the security measure in place. So recently, I just read an article regarding how all these open source model can pose unique security measures, security challenges to potential vulnerabilities that can be exploited through prompt engineering. So I would suggest, in short, is if you are not dealing with highly sensitive data, which you don't really need an air-gapped environment, like as secure as doing military related stuff and things like that. So I don't think you can just straight away go for AI provider directly rather than do it self-host the model itself. So just to quickly run through some of the conclusions here and as a recap. I think what with the concern about data leakage through LLM, it still exists, but I think it's also important to understand the nature of how this data is actually processed and then utilized within these models. Yeah. So in short, so I think an attacker simply just won't be able to query on a large language model like ChatGPT example to disclose data points such as maybe tell me all your trade secrets or list down all your passwords. So typically, model would actually store all this data in such a way that allow it to be output specific user inputs, unless those inputs are really a common patterns recognized universally, so not tied to any individual instances. So therefore, theoretical risk exists, but practical exploitation of the LLM for extracting this specific user data is still highly unlikely, unless you know exactly what you're looking for. So, yeah. So as we approach actually the final segment of my presentation, I'm very excited to share some more success story that highlights our journey on AI innovations alongside with our valued customers. So I think in addressing the challenge like at one of the local university, I think it was actually impractical to assign a dedicated lecturer to every single student due to the diverse needs and topics. Yeah, and also there's a shortage of lecturer, of course. Yeah, so but these students after all they still need help. So CloudMore actually we actually developed a chatbot for them. So it's known like it's known as an AI tutor. So we leverage it on the Google Vertex conversation and search, which acts as a digital tutor. So this AI tutor actually responds to students' query based on the curriculum and then guide them through their thought process instead of just merely provide the answer themselves. Yeah. So I think the key benefit here is really like this implementation of this Gen AI tutor will significantly really enhance the whole entire educational quality by providing the critical thinking and also with a self-paced learning among the students. So it also reduces the faculty's consultation time, streamlining the whole entire educational workflows, and then also reduce and decrease the overall resource expenditure over here. So we came to the last segment, okay? So in this segment, actually, we dive into like how CloudMore actually assists the Ministry of Communication and Information in overcoming some of the challenge like of synthesizing and analyzing this extensive data from diverse social media. So I think so the existing data actually variability in format and the insights really also obstruct the MCI's capability to swiftly and also effectively gauge the public sentiments. So example, I think last time during the COVID, they want to promote the awareness on vaccinations. So they'll just public a post via the Facebook, and without any tools, this is very hard for them to really understand what is the public sentiment unless they really read through the whole entire comments or even gauge based on the number of reactions for the particular post. So to tackle all these challenges, so we CloudMore also we introduced this tool called the Social Navigator, which is built in-house entirely. So this solution entirely is built on top of the Google Cloud platform, leveraging powerful tools like BigQuery and incorporating with Google Cloud AI for the natural language processing. So we also build our own sentiment analysis, which is actually something like maybe they write certain statement, write certain comments, and then we based on the comments to put a index, a sentiment index, whether is it happy or sad or things like that. Yeah. And also we also have done some entity extractions from scratch. So the whole idea is really is to seamlessly consolidate and analyze all these data along with the comprehensive insight extractions to come up with a real-time trend and sentiment assessments. So in the end, it revolutionized on how MCI actually interact with and understand its audience and turning these all diverse data streams into actionable insights and then spend lots of time on just tracking and evaluating the campaign performance. enhancing the overall operational efficiency and responsiveness. Yeah. So yeah, so that's my end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Thanks. It was very great sharing and insight from you. Now, just to share with everyone today, again, in the context of our session today, we are also in the midst of drafting the AI policy that will integrate as part of our digital and IT policy. I think, again, the intent is really to not to stifle innovation, but to make sure there's a governance and framework and using AI ethically. I think that's very important. Now, next is I'm going to invite Mr. Denis Brenton from Novate to share with us how Novate have actually used the power of AI and the road to predicting field accident with more than 80% accuracy. So, Denis, over to you. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I think Denis got dropped out due to internet. We'll move on to the next sharing by Carl. Carl is from Esquire. So Carl will touch on Gaussian splatting AI implementation. I know some of you guys are no stranger to Carl. So Carl, apologies for this. We may need to bring you forward for your sharing on this. Thank you. Over to you, Carl.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Khalil. Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and introduce ourselves as well as the company. Very quickly today, I'm going to share with you a bit more about Esquire, as well as how we are implementing our practical site capture solution to help project sites understand your current site conditions as well as your historical site conditions. Beyond that, I think today one of the topics that I would like to share with you a bit more in detail is emerging technologies in the field of visual capture and imaging, a technology called Gaussian splatting. It's a technology that we're researching and implementing on, but I'd like to share with you beyond what Esquire is doing, perhaps what's the potential of this technology so that you can consider how this could help you with your work and how this might impact your role or your industry. So without further ado, let's quickly go through some of the agenda for today, right? I'll spend maybe 5 minutes to talk to you about Esquire, and I'll spend most of the time talking about Gaussian splatting today. Okay, so Esquire's vision, we are a Singapore company. I'm Kyle, the co-founder of the company, and we specialize really in just one basic idea, which is that today we're in a phase of hardware that can image spaces that are highly commoditizing. And what it lacks is good software to help image spaces. We realized that when we combine the ability to use computer vision-based AI to reconstruct a good image of spaces, we can actually implement that for traditional industries like construction, like facility management, to help people improve the way that they perceive and remember how their spaces looks like. So what we build is essentially a vision AI that enables 100% capture of sites Google Street View in a matter of minutes. So over here, what you can see is a product that uses a 360 camera that is mounted on a hard hat of a user. And these 360 cameras are actually off the shelf, like they are quite cheap, in a couple of $100s. And today, most people actually use them for ski sports, for snowboarding, for bicycling, to use it to capture 360 space. What we realized is that the camera is actually very hardy. It's industry grade, which means that you can actually put it in a construction site and it can prevent some rain, it can prevent some shock. And what we do is we build a software so that when the user wears this camera and walks around a construction site, we automatically reconstruct a 3D space. And we use this 3D space for the purpose of various stakeholders' ability to remotely understand what the space looks like. So over to the next slide, I'll show you how the underlying technology works, right? Fundamentally, when a user walks around the space, the camera is being activated and it captures about 2 images per second. So on that rate, you can imagine that after a single walk on a particular floor, the camera captures thousands of images. It's humanly impossible for you to piece together what the space looks like. That's why we deploy our computer vision AI, a various series of processors that essentially reconstructs a 3D space, so that now the space is a lot more intuitive for anyone who's not on the site itself to remotely and virtually put yourself into the space itself. You can use it to visualize what the space looks like today. You can use it to analyze the differences between, say, a week ago or a month ago versus today to see historical progress. So moving on to the next slide. And generally, the benefits of this system is in a few of the key areas. Firstly, you can document your space a lot faster. In the past, the only way to document the space is using 2D smartphones, where a user will have to manually capture many photos and then go back to the office and try to compile a report about what he saw today. Now, it's much faster. It only takes a 20 minutes walk around the space, and the AI will take care of the documentation of the space. And because now you're capturing the space in not just a limited view of 2D images, all this information is being stored in what we call a historical time capsule. It's very easy for you to go back in time. And whenever project managers or project directors have some concerns about what really happened in the past with respect to a dispute, you can have a much higher chance of finding some evidence for your projects that can help you prevent some of this cost. And by unlocking the capability of representing your construction sites or your facilities as a virtual site, as a virtual twin of your space, anyone in the project team, anyone in the HQ site can actually now remotely monitor what's happening on the site, allowing you to conduct stuff such as daily supervision of certain critical areas, so that you're not limited by just the physicality of how far you can walk or how often you can visit the site. So this extends to various other remote supervision use cases, other than just remote progress supervision, to also stuff like remote safety supervision. And I think increasingly, you might in the industry hear of this concept such as virtual TOP that BCA, the Building Authority in Singapore, is trying to push for, which is the idea that you can even capture and document your site and prepare it in a virtual space ready for BCA officers to virtually inspect and clear your space for TOP. So these are some of the work that we've been doing in the industry to help enable and unlock the potential of engineers not to be limited by their own physicality. So next slide. And quite interestingly, with Boustead projects, right, you are one of our key collaboration partner, because at the beginning of the inception of the company in 2021, which was during COVID, that was where Esquire was started. Boustead project was one of the first that we collaborated with, even in the early stage of the project, of the product creation. And 3 years down the road, in 2024, together with Boustead projects, we have actually done numerous projects, more than 5 actually. And this year is very exciting for us because we've worked with you to also expand our implementation beyond Singapore to regional places such as Malaysia. And what's super interesting is certain use cases that Boustead project is able to work with us on. I bring out just one key use case to share today, which is the one around the usage of BIM models. BIM are 3D models used to represent your design state of the project. And one of the things that Boustead projects first proposed, even just 2 years ago, right, was the idea that there's a desynchronized between how 3D models are being updated across the construction project all the way to the end, something called an as-built BIM model. As a contractor, as an engineering firm, most firms are obliged to produce a good as-built BIM model. At the same time, developers and facility managers really want you to produce a good as-built BIM model, because you will then use that model to be used for the purpose of facility maintenance. Now, what happens in most projects today is that the construction team very quickly dissociates with a BIM team during the construction process, because it gets quite fast-paced. And more often than not, there's always a dependency for BIM teams to ask construction team, hey, are there any changes, especially in design and build projects, right? Are there any changes to the build so I can update this to my BIM model? It often requires a lot of back and forth communication, often sometimes result in BIM teams going down to the site a bit too early or too late, where too late as in some of the work has already been concealed above the ceiling and they're no longer able to inspect what are some of the changes. So using the 360 solution, what we've done in this case study, right, is to be able to dissociate the dependency by having the construction team image the space regularly, so that before the concealed concealment of works are done, all of this information about the M&E, the pipe works, the things that's behind the wall, the electrical systems are all captured, so that now the BIM team has got a digital copy of what happened on the site historically that they can now peel back in time. And this significantly cuts down some of the time it takes for BIM team to communicate and overburden the site team. More importantly, it gives the BIM team a lot of information to update their BIM model in their own time. This increases overall quality of the BIM model. And what's super interesting in our case study with Boustead projects is the BIM team even stepped up. The BIM team was able to use the comparison between the 360 reality versus the BIM design to be able to advise project managers and site engineers when deviation starts to happen during the construction stage. And this is really where some of the failure costs can be identified. When, for example, a hole in the wall is not supposed to be put in, it's not on the BIM model, it's there in reality. So some of these things has happened in our project, and the BIM team is able to help support the project team to then create a more successful project with much less failure cost. So I'll close up the introduction of Esquire and our 360 implementation in Boustead at this point. Next slide. Just to focus a bit more about the future of 360 imaging. Today, 360 imaging is used to understand space, but what you will see is that the 360 images being created are still, I guess, essentially a 3D photograph because you are essentially looking at a view of the photograph, and the resolution looks to you like a 3D picture. But as more and more technologies exist, such as Gaussian splatting, this creates the potential for some of these photographs to have a huge amount of immersiveness in it. So let me share with you a bit more about what Gaussian splatting means to Esquire and what it could mean to you. First of all, what's Gaussian splatting? Gaussian splatting is one of the techniques that's being used today in our in the world that requires a lot more immersiveness in your 3D imaging, right? To enhance the images that you can eventually see in 3D. Technically, how it works is that with a limited number of points, but captured with many angles, what's going to happen now is that you have a lot of data points representing what an actual data point in the world could be. And Gaussian splatting creates a Gaussian curve, which is an averaging curve that tries to understand, based on this many data samples, where is the true point of this data representation in reality. And if there are any points that's needed between the true points, it's able to create a bit of interpolation to create these additional points. Okay, it's very technical, but in short, I'm going to show a few like general application of Gaussian splatting to give you a bit of a flavor of what it means. So one of the key applications of Gaussian splatting is used to do something called point cloud rendering. Point cloud is essentially many small little points that's being captured either by a 360 camera or captured by a laser scanner. Today, one of the biggest challenges is that when you're capturing some of this data, there's occlusion, meaning there's some data that's being blocked by an object in space. In certain situations, there's too much noise, meaning to say there's a lot of information being captured. What you see on top of over there is what we call a sparse point cloud, which is when a mechanical device, capturing device, right, is not able to capture sufficient data about an object. So in a sparse point cloud situation, Gaussian splatting has a capability to once again use this idea of a Gaussian curve, right, to figure out and interpolate a little bit of the data points between your point clouds and do a bit of cleaning, such that if you are able to capture multiple instances of sparse point cloud, you are able to use Gaussian splatting to reconstruct what you see below there, a very beautiful 3D picture of a bicycle. So that's one potential of Gaussian splatting to increase and enhance your images that was originally captured in a sparse manner. Let's go on to the next application of Gaussian splatting. Earlier, you saw an image being reconstructed in a 2D format to increase the resolution. Here, what you see is the ability of Gaussian splatting to essentially fill in the blanks of the object in all 3D, and essentially filling in the blanks to create a good image of the space. This is a bit different in the sense of the volume that Gaussian splatting creates, right, has a lot more data points on it, because essentially you're creating a lot of mini little dots in between the bigger dots, right? The way to conceptually understand it, that's a bit different from how traditional way of using it does, which is called meshing, which creates a bit more of a cube-based like impression of the space. Last but not least, if you look at the last general application, you can see even more good examples where you can see on the left-hand side. Traditionally, when you have a set of data points that represents an actual object in space, people use mesh to recreate a representation of the space. But when you split the space itself, it has a much better resolution and gives you a better intuitiveness of the space. It's also worthwhile to mention that Gaussian splatting, because you draw a Gaussian curve around what you think the data point is, you can also use the same technology to exclude any other data points that are a bit too far away from what could be true as a reality representation. And hence, it also has a usage of doing some denoising, which is quite useful in people who are interested in point cloud processing techniques. So going on to the next slide. These are some of the work that we've done in terms of trying to increase the immersiveness of spaces. Clicking on so the left-hand side is an example that you can see for an indoor capture, all done as an input mechanism using 360 cameras. I don't know whether, Liz, can you click on that particular video to load it? If not, it's fine. Yeah, we'll just move on to it. Basically, you can imagine it's a 3D space where you can move around in the entire 3D space. And that gives you a bit of a good feel of what the internal environment looks like. We have done the same for the outdoor space, and that can be done as well. So, there we go. Thank you. Yeah. So this is just an example of what we've done using, off-the-shelf cameras, but implementing newer technologies such as Gaussian splatting to create a 3D space that is immersive. You can now traverse around in a much more immersive manner. Yeah. So going back to the slides, if you may. Right. So and other than earlier the applications for Esquire, which is to increase the immersiveness of our construction site or facilities being captured for our clients, right? There are a lot more other real-world applications of Gaussian splatting, or I guess 3D image enhancement techniques. For example, over here you see on the top left-hand side, in real estate, it's pretty straightforward, similar use cases, but that now you can actually afford. You will generally see cheaper and cheaper hardwares being able to be used to create more and more realistic property tours in the space of real estate. It does bring down costs for companies who are trying to conduct some of their property work remotely. And for companies in real estate, this could be an interesting technology to consider in terms of how would that change the way that you sell in the future. In terms of urban planning, Gaussian splatting can be used to create, even at the city level, high fidelity digital twins, so that you can actually see a better visualization. And for techniques like that, it's typically applicable to governments or large land planning authorities who are keen to use satellite imagery, for example, to image the whole of the city, just to use as representation to do some city planning. Now, more over to the consumer side, right? On the bottom left-hand side, what you see there is actually Meta AI's example, which is ex-Facebook's example, right? On telepresence being created using Gaussian splatting. Essentially, what it means is that you can use like very cheap cameras that we have, maybe our own mobile camera or our web cameras, to start creating images of our own face in high fidelity, and that high fidelity images can now be used in 3D as avatar for your virtual conferences. So it's pretty cool to think about what telepresence and what that feeling could be a lot more immersive in the future. And finally, in e-commerce, rather than imaging humans, right, you can actually do the same for products and use some of these products to be sold online, so that people can understand and perceive the products a lot more easily, increasing the ability to sell and close your e-commerce sales using 3D images of the space rather than the traditional 2D images. So at this point, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening to all of the applications of Esquire, as well as some of the new technologies such as Gaussian splatting and its real-world application.
Thank you so much, Carl. Yeah, it seems like we are living in exciting times with the commercialization and the introduction of all this new technology. I myself, I'm having a digital orgasm hearing all this now. Now, before that, I think before I introduce the next speaker, which is Denise from Novate, I would like to invite our colleagues, if you have any question, for the speakers, just write down in the Q&A section. we do have some question already coming up. We will address this. We will share with everyone if you have any question during the fireside chat session later on. Now, over to you, Dennis. We are very much excited to hear from Denis, the CEO and co-founder of Novate. So, yeah, over to you. Thanks, Denis.
Thank you very much. And it's I think this coming third actually is good just after Cal, because I think it's going to be complementary to what he presented. I suggest this. I have some slides, but Liz, if you don't mind, maybe the first 2 or 3 minutes, I won't use the slides if you just spot on me, because it's quite long actually, right? To just follow people with their slides. So I think I'm going to start and maybe share a story first, right? First of all, what you should know is basically I've been living in Singapore now for 25 years, and I've been in the construction tech for 25 years. I used to work for Autodesk, and 10 years ago I started Novate. Short story, long. It's 10 years later, the company is we operate in 20 countries, and we help basically clients in the building and construction industry manage their field operations. We help to improve safety, quality, and track progress on sites using mobile devices. About 2 years ago, Enterprise Singapore and IMDA, they contacted me and say, hey, there's a lot of buzz going on with AI. It was already starting, 2 years ago, and a lot of companies in the building and infrastructure industry are wondering whether AI could be applied, whether it could help in the industry. Would you be interested to explore that domain, knowing that it's about 70% of the A1 contractors use Novate today in Singapore, so it's quite widely used. So, we have thousands and thousands of users. We collect a lot of data. And so, yeah, why not? So they were basically proposing to get funding. But I was also a little bit skeptical because AI, is a buzzword, but it's confusing sometimes, it's challenging, and if you don't have good data, it's very difficult to get something out of that. So we started to explore this and nail it down to 3 use cases, which is the first use case was, can we use data to predict delays on projects? The second use case was, can we use data to predict quality issues? And the third use case was, can we use data to predict accidents? So at the end of the day, if you manage operations on a construction site, or actually many operations, these are 3 very important questions. Of course, Novate being a tech firm, we're not going to be able to do this if we don't have partners or companies who can help us to do this. And so we decided to partner with some companies. Boustead actually was one of the companies we partnered with. And we started to embark on the journey. So Novate, we hired some very smart engineers here in Singapore, data scientists. We started to look at data, crunch data, and work out on the models. I'm going to be very honest. When we started this, and I remember saying it with IMD and Enterprise Singapore, I said, I don't know if we can do this, if we can really do it, because this is really a unknown territory. I really don't know. And it was really research. Well, this is what happened. We haven't managed to crack the code on being able to predict delays on sites or constructions. It's actually a very, very complex problem to solve. We've made some very interesting findings together with Boustead on quality, but I don't think we've completely cracked the code yet, but we've made some very interesting stuff. And then something happened last December. We managed to crack the code on safety. One of the engineers was working on the model, and we were working with Chongqing, which was one of the other partner in this journey, came back and say, hey, we've managed to create a model that can predict accidents with 80% accuracy. I must tell you that the first time he told me this, I did not believe this. Okay, I say it's not possible. 80% is way too accurate. We must be lucky or something is wrong. Connected with Chongqing, met the management team and say, guys, it seems like we found something here we're not sure. So what I'm going to do now in the next 5 minutes is actually, I'm going to share with you actually that this is true, we did it. There's actually a world first. And I'm going to share the information. I think it's going to trigger some very interesting questions on how AI is used, what it can do, not do, and also how it can be implemented and how it's going to be received in the field with people. So I think, Liz, now you can share the slides. And so it's the first slide, which is the second one, which is, so we've managed to create a model using data collected in the field that can predict with an 80% accuracy that an accident is going to happen next month on a construction site. And I can tell you right now that in the last 8-9 months, I've spent some time in US, Europe. It's a world first. So we're the first company who've really managed to operationalize this, meaning that actually it's not easy. Now, what is because it's not because we are smart or anything. It's just because at the end of the day, it's all about the data and the accuracy of the data you get in the field that made a difference. So how did we do this? Right? We working with Chongqing. We looked at Chongqing is one other company in Singapore like Boustead who's been using Novate for many, many years. And we look at a sample data on 9 construction sites over 2 years, 1,500 workers. So we have a lot of inputs, which is what you know, about 80 parameters that we put in the model. Then we were creating a model and we were asking the model, will there be an accident on this site in next month with all inputs you have? And this is where the model at some point, initially was not working. At some point, one day it did, and the accuracy was incredible because, it was able to predict 76% of the months with accidents. But on top of this, it was extremely precise, which is when it predicts them is 88% right. What we did since then is we've started to operationalize this and use it with Chongqing, and I can basically tell you that basically it's working, right? What was initially a kind of an R&D exercise has transformed into something which is used today to help to improve safety. Next slide. So basically how it works, actually, it's super simple. The outcome is very simple, is you have all these sites, all these operations, and then run the model once a month, and it's going to tell us, okay, next month, you should go and check this site because the model says that something wrong is very, very likely to happen. Okay, so this is how it works. Next, Kevin, who is the head of the safety at Chongqing, was instrumental in making this happen. And this is what he says, right? For him, this kind of analysis it's very cost effective because it helps him to have a more objective look at the project. And it says it's like, yeah, I'm having a new pair of glass, and it helps me to focus on the right things. The truth is, the locations where the accidents were spotted was not necessarily a big surprise for the Chongqing team. But the AI model, think about it as an assistant that was really saying, you know what? Yeah, really go there because all the data is pointing that something is wrong there. So the next slide, actually. So for me, it was like, how can that be that a model be so smart it predicts something which is, so complex actually for human beings to predict? So we started to research and try to understand why is it that it's so accurate. Spend a lot of time with people who've been doing this for 10, 20 years, experts in safety. The thing they I learned is that something interesting. Every time there's an accident on a site, you're gonna have to do an audit. And very often people will tell you that if you ask them the question, were you surprised that there was an accident? The answer is, we're surprised it did not happen earlier. Very often when something is wrong in operations, the writing was on the wall. And you can tell it because, it's very subtle things, right? You could have, in construction, you have to do permits to work. The way the approvals are done is starting to slack. The morning toolbox meetings are skipped and not well done. You start seeing delays in safety actions, rectifications. Overtime is increasing. So there's all kinds of small things that individually may not be a problem, but when you start having a lot of these small things coming together, this is potentially where you can have an issue. And on the next slide, it's interesting because AI is actually very good at analyzing such situations, right? Human beings, we struggle when there's too much information that we need to compute. And safety is a good case, which is, you go on a construction site and there's so many things that could go wrong. So, you fix this, you train the guys, you get them, focused on doing the right things. But sometimes it's just emotions. You know it, something is wrong, but you just give up. Hey, you know what? I have to do my job. AI has zero emotions. An AI model, a machine learning model, is just collecting all these events one by one. He can detect that things, are getting, starting to go in the wrong way. And in an emotionless way, he's going to tell you, you know what? You should really go there because something is wrong, right? So it's actually a use case where AI can do very well. Next slide. So what we've learned, so what we've done since then, and this is where it becomes really interesting, is now every month we run this model and goes back to the board of Chongqing, they analyze it, and then they figure out where to go. What we learn actually is the most significant impact of the model, it's not its predictions, but the understanding of the parameters and how these parameters impact the prediction. Let me explain this. Every month now, we do a prediction. And what humans do is they make sure that our prediction is wrong. And so far, they've proven it's wrong because the level of accidents in Chongqing has reduced dramatically. So basically, we predict accidents and they don't happen. So this is where it becomes interesting. So, okay, so the model is wrong. You see what I mean? It's a kind of you can never know whether the model is going to be right or wrong. But what we know is that safety has improved. And more importantly, the model has helped us to understand what are the things that need to be checked and monitored on site at Chongqing to be able to improve safety. So over time, what I believe is we're going to continue to run the model, but more importantly, we really help the teams to monitor, define the things that they need to monitor, and something goes wrong, this is what they need to check. And we also help them to prioritize the things. So that's, Khalil, I think this is pretty much the story I wanted to or the example I wanted to share today. And by the way, if you want to know more about this case, we've published this online, right? So you can get the QR code and you will be able to get the whole story. So I think about this as to me it's a revolution. If you would have asked me a year ago, would this be possible? I say maybe 5-10 years, I would not think I would be sitting here and discussing that with you today. It's going much faster than I thought. Are we able to replicate this? I think so. Actually, we're working with a lot of companies across the world to see how we can replicate that. What's the challenge in making this happen? Data, collecting data. It's not the model. It's what we learn from this is that it's basically if you can monitor behavior and changes in behavior, because at the end of the day, what the model does is it is able to detect changes in behavior, and safety is all about change in behavior. If you don't have the right behavior, people are not alert, they don't think about safety, things go wrong over time. And this is what the model does. So I'm very sure we'll be able to replicate it. We're working on this with other companies. I think about it as, so we want to share that because I think it's amazing. If we manage to improve safety records on sites, it's huge. And so, we're sharing as much as we can. I think about it as open source stuff, right? Our job is very simple, as we need to help our clients to digitize their processes and collect data. And you as the company, this data is gold, right? And data actually defines who you are. And managing this data and controlling is super strategic. So you may have some vendors who are going to help you to do this. We're happy to do this. But at the end of the day, the job of the core competency of companies is moving from, being a builder, being an operator, from managing the data, linked to managing construction projects or buildings or stuff like this, right? So it's incredibly critical, right? And so just to finish on this, I find this story is very interesting because it shows that things can be done. There's not much you're going to be able to do if you don't collect good data, right? But once you collect good data and you know how to put it into dashboards, it's incredibly powerful. So that's what I wanted to share today. So again, everything is there. Maybe just a quick background on the company quickly. who we are, what we do. We can go. Yeah. So basically, we're Singapore startup started 10 years ago. We're one of the very few. Actually, we're the largest construction tech company in Asia. 20 countries, 10,000 sites, 1 million processes managed every month. Next, it's interesting because from the small story, and thank you very much, Khalil and Boustead, because you guys trusted us, believed in us. We were very small. So today the Singapore know-how tech is spread across the world. Our technology is used in Norway, in Saudi Arabia, the biggest oil and gas projects there. High-speed rail systems in the UK. So it's a small, tiny tech that started in Singapore, which is spread across the world. Next slide. These are the companies we work with. So we work with all the biggest developers, contractors. We work the public sector and specialist contractors. And next. Yeah, and basically this is what Novate does, right? So we help our clients with super focus. We just care about the field, quality assurance, HSE compliance, progress, and tracking. Yeah. Yeah. So the and you can stop sharing the slides, please. So just to sum up, and maybe Khalil, this is a good way to start the conversation next, right before the break, which is the AI is fascinating. It's going faster than I thought, and I think a lot of people are surprised by this. Tech is going fast, but human beings maybe not. Okay, so that's it's like we need to. Things are going so fast. It's so fast, and we need to understand what this all means, what can be done and not done, and how can we get people on board with this. And kind of work with the people so that AI is going to be good in use in good way, right? It's going to be good for your companies and it's going to be good for society. So it's raising a lot of things. You read about this in the news, but it's a reality now in our job every day. And I think it's fascinating and it's super important to discuss it and explore and learn about it because there's it's just in front of us. We're going to have to deal with it. Yeah. Over to you, Khalil.
Thank you. Amazing, Dennis. Thanks. Great sharing. Again, like I said, what's interesting, the outgoing president of America, Biden, just spoke about the use of AI a day ago. I think, again, this is going to change. And that's what I kind of agree with Denis, AI for good, tech for good. I think this is very important, right? Not only for work, but I think social context also. Now, we are going for a break for 10 minutes. We'll come back for a fireside chat. And then there are some questions coming in from my colleagues. We will address them. And I also have some questions in the fireside chat that we can talk more about adoption of technology and AI, etc. So let's go for a quick 10 minutes break and we come back and we see everyone again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very quickly, which is transforming a lot of stuff. And I think all of us, but there's also predictive models, for instance, the things that I mentioned. It's a different type of AI. And there's also other AIs. I think Kai was talking, video analytics and all that stuff. So there are different types of AI. But when we think about AI, I feel that we overestimate what AI is going to do in the next 1 or 2 years, but we underestimate how much it's going to transform our lives in 10 years, right? Right. So, because if you, one thing for sure, it's if I take, for instance, the marketing industry, their jobs, and for instance, in the tech sector, we use a lot of marketing. It's completely transformed in 18 months. It's incredibly fast. There's a lot. It's very simple. There's a lot of marketing people who are on the job market right now because they've lost their job. Technical writers. It's finished. 90% of people who had a job who were writing documents, technically they're gone, right? So it's gone incredibly fast in 1 or 2 years just because of ChatGPT. I think, William, you show some slides that, initially you were saying the impact of AI or digital stuff. I would say, any job, if you are sitting in front of a computer, your job is going to change in the next 5 to 10 years. If you are sitting in front of a computer, okay? If you are building something in the field, maybe not. But if you are in front of a computer, it's as simple as that. It's going to change because at some point there will be a question that maybe an AI model can do your job better, and whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. So it's all about figuring out how we deal with it. And I would say on what the stats on average productivity gains around this are going to be 10, 20 to 30% for white collars, and some jobs are just going to disappear. And that's the case of marketing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dennis, for that. I think it's very clear. We know that it's not really going to change or replace human. We still need to, have human touch involved. Again, William, you want to share your thoughts? Please go ahead.
Yeah. I think just now you touched on this human touch. I think that's very important. So I think everybody is quite aware about this AI. I think everybody is just probably foresee that people think AI is going to be a big thing and replace everybody. So maybe take an example. Maybe we explore AI to replace call centers. So I think as much as I think job security is one thing, but what we just need to take note that this is my personal thought, to be honest. I think just feel free to challenge on this. I think after all, AI doesn't actually become smart by its own, because I think you still need those call center operators to train it to really validate its responses or even improve its accuracy. So instead of just replacing them, so maybe I would involve these operators' roles where they are actually essential to make the AI even smarter. So I think they can even become the QA expert for the AI systems, ensuring data qualities or even help train new models. So the value they add actually just shift. So to be honest, also honestly, I think something about a human touch and what Kalia just mentioned, I think is something AI can't entirely replace. So personally, I feel that I just prefer that the kind of human interactions. So the kind of warmth and a level of empathy that the AI actually, even as advanced as it is, it would, I'm not really sure, probably in future, but not now, wouldn't be able to fully capture the kind of capture this kind of human connections, the kind of understanding of emotions and context. So which I feel that set us apart. So I feel that roles like maybe call center operators, I think they wouldn't just go away easily. Maybe this is just one example. Blend of technologies and humanities continue to work hand in hand. So to be honest, let's face it. So even no matter how advanced AI gets, people like me, even when I call a call center, I always prefer to go for the last option, which is hit a zero, to speak to a real person, because sometimes it's just really the human touch. Yeah, that's just me.
Thank you, William. I think Carl has been quiet. This specific question to Carl, perhaps about more on digital construction. I think as we digitize, my question to Carl will be on digital construction involve often a lot of collaboration between the vendor, software provider, and the user. In this case, how do you approach navigating potential interoperability issue and integration with various platform environment across different platform on a project specific? I do know that you have few integration with various platform, but there are open API, there are also closed API. And how do you then engage those platform software provider to manage and give much value to your customer or your client? In this case, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the question. I think generally the question is a bit more about how does a technology supplier like Esquire thinks about the data centricity of the client. In general, I think first of all, just trying to understand the challenge that most clients face today, especially in the cloud-based environment, is that you no longer own the data center itself, where most of your data being created during the course of the project or during the course of your operations are being stored traditionally, in the past in your own IT databases, right? So, however, data centricity is very important for a company to understand the history, to store this information of what happened in the past, as well as to be able to then synthesize new information, such as like combining different data sources in order to create new, useful analysis. So I think there's often coming to this sector as a technology supplier like Esquire, that there's definitely that awareness that clients do want cloud-based service provider to find ways to do two things. One, how to make sure that the data that we create can be open up to you as a client to be able to consume and add to store, to consume, to add onto it. And two, perhaps like how do we work closely with our other cloud-based solution providers to allow some of the workflows to flow so that data can be flown in between these different platforms. Generally, how we think about approaching this is in two ways. I think first, we do closed API integration, meaning to say like generally we pick a few technology providers that we find has a high level of traction in the industry and in the markets that we're operating in. And this is often where our clients would then often have the most urgent need to make sure that our systems talks to each other. So in this kind of closed API integration, we do work quite closely with our technology partners, product team, to make sure that what we perceive with the technology partner as the way that our system should work with each other, these workflows and the data required that API are being talked about and designed for the industry, for the market specifically. And what's quite unique about the way that we work is also we do one additional step of making sure that a lot of this theoretical workflows and theoretical value has actually been validated as much as possible, actually co-developed actually with clients in the industry. So for example, with Boustead, what we are doing, perhaps that's something that we can just give everyone a bit of a sense about, is really that we've done the first thing where Denise and I, between Novate and Esquire, we've been talking about working on closed API integration, and Boustead is actually one of the clients that are co-developing what these workflows could be, right? So that's the closed API one. I'll quickly cover, just in the constraint of time, open methods of collaboration. For us, we think that essentially open methods of collaboration comes in two areas. One is opening up your own APIs, so that it's easy for other platforms to be able to connect to you. These are some of the APIs that you might be comfortable with other systems consuming to interact with your system. And secondly, creating potential exports from your systems that are open data in formats. So that that way, for example, native CSV files, native JPEG, PNG files that open source systems can consume. So that way, some of these data formats don't eventually become a lock-in. And that's where, for example, a system like CloudMile, which has a concept of a data lab with a data lake, could be able to consume even without needing to have a close integration with us, to be able to consume some of the data exports and to use them to be stored in a long-term manner, or to use it to synthesize more data in the future.
Right, thanks, Carl. I think there's a particular question that just came up specifically for you, Carl. I think this question revolves around what are your thoughts on the future of Esquire development in terms of the captures and data of having predictive capabilities to what similarly Novate just shared just now, where they share about where accuracy more than 80%, they can predict accident for safety. In the case of Esquire, do you intend to do that, where potentially there's a use case in terms of inspection to meet the compliance or regulation, or BCA specific, or any other geographical location that we are operating?
I think generally as a company, we have decided that our strategy, or rather our vision as a company, is to be able to capture and index virtual spaces for industry. So the first part of capturing is what we're really hyper working on. And conceptually, the question is asking, will we start analyzing some of these images? And that's really the part that's encapsulated in our vision, to index some of this data that we're capturing. There are a lot of things to analyze, right? I think what the question was is about inspection data. We do have a lot of requests from the building authorities in Singapore to see if we can try to use some of the captured images to automatically analyze them for stuff like defects, analyze them for safety conditions. These are topics that we're doing R&D on, but what we also realize is that at least the current position of our company is that we feel that a lot of this analysis work is going to happen perhaps more in the 3 to 5 year mark, a bit more of a midterm strategy for us, mostly because we're realizing that some of the capturing technologies today are still not refined enough for you to be able to visually detect issues. So for example, the whole idea of automating defects of cracks on the walls. Today, we're still trying to enhance the capability of the capturing technology for you to even see some of these cracks on the wall. And hence as a focus, really, our companies really focus a bit more in the short term to try to first bring all the enhancement to the ability for you to visualize information that's being captured in more clear and with more data points. And in the short term, we're actually working with companies who are interested to work on the indexing part to partner up so that we can actually create some of these use cases in parallel. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Carl. Okay, we got another a question. Maybe perhaps this is the last we are taking in from my colleagues. In particular, maybe I want to address this or bring it to William, perhaps. This question comes from Vietnam, our colleague in Vietnam. What's the common AI platform that allows them or us to have an inbuilt data collaboration, control, cost, workflow, cost control, and project management for multi-project? So again, like I said, I think if I were to digest this and summarize, this question revolves around a common platform where AI is being inbuilt for them to manage their work, such as the project control costs, workflow, etc.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question. So just curious, so this question is in this context actually particularly related to construction projects or cloud infrastructure projects?
It will be more on construction projects or project management. Yeah, not really about software development.
Oh no, not even cloud infrastructure management.
Yeah.
Am I right to say that? Okay, so to be honest, I myself, I'm not an AI expert, but I don't think in this industry there's a so-called out-of-the-box solution that can actually able to provide this kind of extent of service. So the way how it explains actually it sounds like it's a very bespoke solution rather than out of the box. So, but I've been more than open to really understand what exactly you're looking at, because when you look at project management and things like that. So we're just curious, how do you actually expect AI to really help you in this area?
Yeah, right. Thanks, William. I think again this is a very generic question. Of course, today we talk about generative AI like Google. Today they have Gemini, and then OpenAI we have ChatGPT. These are some of the things we do we use on the day-to-day. Perhaps we need to understand better on that question. Now, this will be the last question. I don't want to help you guys up. I know everyone's time is precious. Again, I would like to talk about transformation and change management, right? And this is for the three of you guys. In your experience, what's the bigger challenge here for organization? Adapting an existing infrastructure or legacy software to new technology, or adopting an entirely new technology mindset in implementing new platform? Yeah, maybe can start with Denise, followed by Carl, and then after that, perhaps William, if you can share your insight, would be good.
Okay, maybe I'm going to answer this and also maybe build up on the previous question, right? Which is so when you look at this, there are different dimensions. There's the human dimension, the technical dimension. Let's talk about the technical aspect. When ChatGPT emerged 18 months ago, there was the thought that probably 2, 3, 4, 5 big companies are going to be out there and control the algorithms and become super powerful. So ChatGPT could be the next Google, right? And generative AI would be, you would have to go through them. There's something very interesting happening in the last 6 to 12 months is actually we're seeing open source algorithms catching up. It's very important because it means as a company, you can actually create an environment where you can explore your own AI, algorithms and develop them. So it means that it's pretty, it's not what we thought it would be, 18 months ago. They're catching up. So if you look at, for instance, generative AI, If you want to generate text or content, you test ChatGPT and you see some of the other alternatives that are there. 12 months ago, they were bad. You test, and last month, they're very close to ChatGPT, and they're open source, and you can use them. So what this means is that there's a few things. It means, for instance, that a company like Novate or Esquire, for Novate for sure, we're putting AI everywhere, right? So I talked about predictive models, but we are starting to put a lot of algorithms. We include them in our software because actually we believe we can compete with and we can provide stuff. That means also you as a company, you should also do this. Okay. So to answer to go back to your question, I think AI, if you just take the technical aspect, the tech side, you should work with vendors who, by the way, have open APIs. If they don't have open APIs, get rid of this, right? Because you need to be able to ask them to help you to collect data, some analytics, and some of it you're going to do it. That's the first thing. And after that, of course, so it's very interesting. There's a lot of things that can be done. It's open, and a lot of open source stuff going on. And after that, human beings, which is organizations, because tech means nothing if you don't know what you're going to do and people accept it. But I will stop on this. But on the tech side, there's some very interesting things going on.
Thank you, Dennis. Very good. Carl, maybe perhaps your thoughts, quick thoughts on this, if you have any.
Sure. Yeah, I think Dennis covered quite a bit and very insightful about the tech side, right? I'll talk a bit more about, like, I guess, some of the challenges on digital transformation and perhaps focusing a bit more on my thoughts about some of the things that we have seen being helpful for organizations trying to do digital transformation. I think maybe just 3 major points that I want to share today. I think the first is to realize that no matter what AI or tech that you're adopting, the coexistence with human and the conception of that, being able to conceive how it coexists would help the organization as well as individuals embrace how these technologies can work, because then they understand the impact to them. They understand what it means for them to upskill and reskill for the new world. I think it's often a lot harder when that concept is not obvious to ask the team to say, hey guys, just change, right? Change for the sake of changing. Number 2, I guess in terms of digital transformation, after that awareness of the need to change, right? It's just a little bit of the need for leadership to be able to continue to champion some of this change. We've found a very big difference in technology adoption between organizations whose leadership are highly committed to digital transformation, constantly asking every single management meeting, hey, we got this thing, what's happening to it? Give me a look, even if it's just like, a quick look at what the software looks like. Huge amount of difference between their ability to transform digitally versus the ones who purchases it, for example, for the sake of meeting specifications, and we're done with the project and let's move on, right? And the third and last one is then a bit more of the final stage of having done the spearhead into digital transformation, knowing the why, as well as having the right leadership to do it. Then the continuous how, we realize is a bit more through the third point around success stories. I think today all the speakers have shared a bit about the success stories of how some of this technology works for our clients. We find exceptional companies are the ones who take some of these success stories and continue to talk about them internally, talk about their own successes, talk about what are the successes for technology from other companies, because this is how people get rewarded and reinforced to behave as per what some of these roles in these success stories should do. And I think these are 3 points I'd like to leave, this webinar with, to think about whether or not you're on track on this, and what you can do if you're not with some of the gaps. Yeah.
Thank you, Carl. William, any thoughts? Quick one, perhaps?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Carl. So just want to re-echo, like, of course, I believe that one of the so-called most important, whether is it AI or in general it's a tech, I think most important is actually more about the mindset. So when we do digital transformation, it's not just about like using the latest tools and technologies, but after all, it all boils down to the people and the mindset themselves. Because I think after all, technology, we just want to take you so far. If the team is not ready or they are just stubborn to embrace change, and it's always about getting comfortable or being uncomfortable here. So we really need a champion, like what Carl mentioned, need a champion or the team really willing to lead by example, and then show them the wins, and then make them to convince them actually stay out of their comfort zones, challenge the status quo, and really look at things realistically here. So when it comes to change, of course, it's very tough. So everybody just can be very contented to stay where they are and not going to move on further. So I remember there's one case where we talk about let's say I would say talk about internal organization, maybe talk about human in general or even customers. So I think when we talk about dealing with customers, they also, if we want to convince them to adopt new cloud solutions, they actually decide against it. So they always think that if they don't see the point, why change what's working? So there's one thing actually I learned is actually people will only change when they feel the pain of not changing. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it's all about how we do we convince them. Maybe it's by doing POCs. POCs is often one of the game changer to talk about, so that to share rather than just only based on paper to talk about benefits or transformations. Yeah. So again, when it comes to internal organization, we talk about how do we actually drive change, transformation, that kind of stuff. I believe a lot of times we all struggle to think about how can we actually motivate them. Yeah. So of course, actually, if you ask me to change, of course, you ask me, of course, throwing money is definitely not throwing money at problems also doesn't always work. So I encountered this firsthand, of course, especially when I started Kuala office since 4 years ago for the engineering team. When we first started off a business, just to share a quick context, is when we start our digital business journey, we just only focus on the Google Cloud. So all our engineers, we just need to learn Google Cloud skills, or we just hire Google Cloud engineers. So as our cloud business actually diversify, we diverse into AWS or Azure or even other some of the software vendors like MongoDB, Confluent, and things like that. So you see, our team really needs to adapt to change because our business has already grown a lot faster. Yeah. So even though I think tech might be similar, we talk about moving doing different cloud, but different cloud is actually also considered learning a new different language. So when we ask people learning something new, his first question is about, hey, what's in there for me? So you see, like what I mentioned, throwing money, maybe flexi benefits, or even vouchers. Also, maybe we'll just work for a short while, but I think that doesn't really last long. So me myself, my philosophy is, me as a leader, I think we need to learn to inspire people. So as my team actually throws up excuses, I will make sure I carve out time for myself, despite how busy I am, go and learn the tech myself, and then guide the team. Leading by example is actually the key. So along the way, then you have to show them the win, and then also the milestones also will actually help to guide the team, so that the team will actually hits the target using a few new technology. Then we celebrate about it. So even a simple lunch or day off, or even a public recognition, actually will be a long way to actually keeping the morale high and raising the new. Yeah. So
thank you. Thanks, William. Yeah. Again, thanks everyone. I think we have come to the end of this exciting session. I really want to thank Denis, Carl, and William for participating. This is our inaugural. I really hope it's been very fruitful and beneficial for us who attend. Again, I would like to end this session by asking, to everyone, maybe not to the panelists. Sometimes we will think, technology is always there. How do we then avoid the shiny new toy syndrome? And will we be digital by default? Right? These are some of the questions that I want my colleagues to think about, maybe before they go to sleep or when they wake up in the morning. Now, once again, thank you, Denis, Carl, and William. To the rest of our colleagues who are in the office, feel free to come over to Integrity Room. We have prepared a few gadgets here, like the VR, and then we have 360, and then you can even look at the Novate solution that we are sharing that was earlier being shared and being used by our company. With that, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I see everyone.
Thank you.
We keep in touch, Denis, Carl, and William. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.